Hi, folks. Welcome to the WPL Morning Show. I know this is evening. Time is a social construct. A lot of logistical difficulties, but here we are doing the show. We are going to be discussing all about the Eliminator, right? I think Delhi Capitals is one team that I think against all odds has managed to upset all the odds, so to say, and defeating Gujarat Giants as who were entering the contest as overwhelming favorites in their home
Favorites.
turf is something of repute, right? In this episode, we're obviously going to be breaking down how the match went all the way from the start, the power play, and what were some of the major talking points. And to all the folks who are joining us in, please keep spamming us in the live chat. Let's keep the conversation going. But Rishabh, first thoughts, right, on Delhi Capitals, the overall performance itself in this eliminator, it just reeked of class and confidence, right? From start to finish, they decisively controlled the game. So, yeah, again, just over to you.
Yeah, Delhi Capitals peaking at the right time, really, because like you mentioned, it was looking slightly difficult for them at one point, but they've made it. They've made it through the playoffs, and I think yesterday's win was really a statement win of sorts. Dominating win because uh, first to restrict power-packed batting lineup like Gujarat to less than 170, and then. They've lost a couple of close games earlier to Gujarat already this season. So this time they finished it in like less than 16 overs. So they didn't want to take it to the final over. I think brilliant performance from their batting, totally dominated that chase right from the start. From the power play, the intent was very clear, and they did not give Gujarat any opportunity whatsoever to really get back after that power play. And I think it'll do their confidence a whole lot of good. This kind of a win, convincing victory where they've done well with both bat and ball heading into the final. You'd always want that kind of a performance. So it's going to lift the entire side up. And yeah, all RCB fans are going to be slightly tensed looking at how DC are peaking. So it's really set up for a cracking final. I feel the best WPL season so far. I can say hands down, given how the games have gone, how exciting this has been, and all this. It's this Delhi's win has just added to the tension and drama before the final. So I think a fantastic game, and all in all, really well set up for the final of this season.
Yeah, couldn't agree there more with you, Rishabh, because I think this season, right, just the quality of games that we have seen across all teams, putting their best foot forward, it has been that sort of a season, And even just talking about Delhi Capitals, this is what their fourth consecutive final, and there's just been what 4 seasons of the WPL. Like, how do you pull off something like that, right? I think all optimistic Delhi Capitals fans will be hoping that fourth time's the charm, and they can really pull off a magical win, a much deserved win for the franchise itself, right, across the men and the women verticals. But Rishabh, just coming back to this match now, let's talk about the toss itself, right? DC won the toss. They elected to field first. Jemimah Rodrigues once again winning the toss, no mistakes happening there. Just how would you again assess like the pitch and the conditions itself and the toss? Did you think that again had a role to play, or quite predictable in that regard?
No, I think they've backed their batting to come well, because if you look at their top four, Lizelle, Shafali, Verma, Wolfart, Jimmy, all of them got runs. All of them got runs at a really, all of them looked really fluent, and they got it at a good pace. So I think they backed their batting, and they also did well with the ball in the last game. So I think they just went by that, and I still feel 168 wasn't. It was still a par score, to be honest, on that wicket. Not like Gujarat would have felt probably 10 runs short, but even then, wasn't a total that could not have been defended, I feel. Was still a par score, really, if they had gotten, early wickets in that par play. So, I don't think the toss would have had really much to do with the result in that sense.
Yeah, fair enough there because Gujarat, to their credit too, right, has been doing really well, even though, they were put into situations where they were batting first. In fact, in the last match too, right, Ash Gardner won the toss and opted to bat first. But here's where things really went south, right? Within the power play itself, Gujarat lost three very crucial wickets. Ash Gardner for a first ball duck. Again, Rishabh, how damaging do you think was that phase, right, to the innings and just the overall mindset? Because you could see the dugout itself, right? Ash Gardner was giving the most dejected of looks, and overall the camp itself was looking very deflated.
Yeah, I mean, the wickets that they lost at the top, they're three down in the power play itself. Three big wickets that they lost: Anushka, Sophie, and Ash Gardner, like you told. So I think that was a major setback right there, when you've lost three down in the power play, and especially when the rest of your batting hasn't been as consistent. You're dependent on the likes of Mooney, Divine, Anushka, and Ash Gardner herself to score you those runs. Kanika hasn't been at her best with the bat. Wareham, we did saw she did play a cameo. Bharti Fulmali has been on and off. Kashvi as well. So when you don't have that kind of firepower or consistency at the back end, and then even then they did really well to push and get to 168, but the damage was done. I feel in the power play between them getting 20, 30, or 30, 40 additional runs. So I feel that was one of the key moments of the game, where Delhi, they really they took the momentum right from the start, and they pushed Gujarat back there. They would have fancied getting better starts from their top order. So I think that's where Delhi held the momentum right up initially, and then for most part of the entire game, they never let it go.
And here's where, Rishabh, I think we should definitely take a moment to talk about Nandini Sharma, right? There's something about her with the new ball and that early flourish of just being able to get wickets. I mean, I think we can probably spend an entire episode talking about how brilliant she's at the death. Last match not being a case in point. But those two wickets up front, again giving us hopes that this Arcad bowler could take a hat trick. Just talk us through your emotions of her spell and how brilliant she was.
I mean, you've definitely got to have someone that kind of a bowler who can get you wickets in the power play and get you wickets consistently at the top. And it's also her first season, mind you. She was a net bowler with RCB last year, as far as I remember. This is her first season, so she's close to becoming. I think she's just a wicket away or something from becoming the Indian bowler with most wickets in a single season. Talks Her performance talks volumes. Those wickets talks volumes there, and the wickets she got as well. She got Ash Gardner, she got Anusha Sharma. She's got two of their 4 5 main batters at the top. You've broken their backbone right there at the top, and we did see how difficult it was. For Gujarat from that stage. They just kept losing wickets. They were 120 out for six at one stage, and if not for Wareham and Kashvi at the back end, I don't think they would have even crossed 150 at that point. So that initial damage, really caused a lot of impact, and she's been doing it consistently throughout the season. On the verge of another hat trick. Yeah, two hat tricks in a single season would have been phenomenal. But even otherwise, I think fantastic talent, coming out not just for Delhi but in future for India as well. Definitely, because the thing with the Indian team has always been about having quality. Fast bowlers, especially those who can pick you wickets at the top, something that the women's team in general has lagged over the years. So really bright prospect in that aspect as well.
Yeah, definitely an exciting, potential and talent that India has uncovered. And, due credit goes to Delhi Capitals for, honestly giving her those opportunities. And rightfully so, right? She finds her space in the top wicket takers list and contention for the purple cap as well. We have a comment coming here in from Syed who goes on to say, DC performance is superb, especially openers Lizelle and Shafali Verma batted superbly. And in the later stage, Jemimah Rodrigues and Laura Wolfart, takes DC into the finals. Valid point there. We will talk about it a little later in our discussion because I think we should, probably just talk about Gujarat's batting effort itself. Because here's where, Rishabh, I think the internet is extremely divided, right? Beth Mooney. I think her knock did cop like a fair share of criticism. A lot of people felt, she was just like stat padding, there's nothing happening there. But in the context of the wickets falling, it just felt like this is a typical gritty Beth Mooney knock, right? 51 balls scoring a 62. I know at one point it was run a ball, probably, it was not looking as great it should have for the optics. But how do you assess the balance that she struck, right, between anchoring the innings and just trying to accelerate? And it's good to see her amongst the runs, right, finally this season.
Yeah, to start off with, it's really good to see her back among the runs, and you can criticize all about the strike rate, her batting slowly, but then if you look at the game, what other option did she actually have as well than staying out there? Because you were losing wickets regularly at the other end, and that's where you have to play the situation and you have to play the scenario, right? Uh, Obviously, you've got to look to have a positive intent, but if you look to over attack or try to do something different, and if she'd also have lost her wicket, then this would have been an even more easier game for Delhi than it even turned out to be. So she had to do what she had to do, stay out there, at least hold fort, hold one end. And she's got all the experience, she's been doing it for years, so she did what she does. It's a good sign that at least she's back among the runs, because you need someone at the top. I mean, we always talk about strike rates and power hitting and all of that in T20, but end of the day, you really need someone in that lineup who can also hold the innings, play that anchor and bring that balance. And there's always this debate about strike rates, but cricket is still cricket at the end of the day, and you need the basics as well, be it any format. So I feel she did what she had to with wickets going at the other end. It's just, sensible to be out there and try to stay at one end and at least keep the scoreboard ticking. And that's what she did. And for given the base that she put up, even despite wickets going back to back, they were able to get close to 170, which was still, I believe, total good enough for them to fight with.
Yeah, all valid points there, Rishabh. And I think at least we both are on the same board where we feel, it was one of those knocks that probably may not look entirely flashy, but it served the purpose that, the team needed. Because although Beth Mooney was, holding one, and you still had someone like a Georgia Wareham, right, who came in when Gujarat was tottering at 59 for 4, needed that impetus. And I think her innings, again, sort of changed the tempo of the game itself, right, especially in the middle overs where Gujarat really needed that counter attack. So again, Rishabh, like how would you look at Georgia Wareham's knock and especially that partnership with Beth Mooney?
Yeah, like you said, it was really crucial because with Beth Mooney going the way she was, holding one hand, you still need someone who can also take the attack and put some pressure back on the opposition. And that's where Georgia Wareham came in, 35 of 25, 140 odd strike rate. They needed that push to, really get past that 160 mark, because it made the difference between them finishing under 150 and still getting those extra 20, 10, 15 odd runs to go close to 170, which I'll again say was better than a below par total, definitely. So that you do need someone, and Verham has got that ability. This is not the first time, she's shown this before as well. Coming at the back end, she can play these quick 30, 40 run cameos. She's done that previously as well. So it was really important for someone like her, and that partnership when you have already lost 5 6 wickets for like what 50 60 odd runs. You need that kind of there was a partnership that helped them at least fight back to an extent in the game. And you always want that. You don't want to be getting bundled out for paltry score under 100 or whatever. They did give their bowlers a decent amount of runs, I feel, to play with. And even Kashvi there later on, along with Wareham, a 10 ball 18, even though Gujarat lost the game, but really, important knock in the context, as in, you have the likes of Wareham, Bharti Fulmali, if she had clicked, and Kashvi there, 2 3 batters at the back end who can play those big shots and who can score at a quick pace. So if their batting lineup really clicks well. Then you look at the top three, four, Beth Mooney, Divine, Anushka, Ash Gardner herself, and then Wareham, Fulmali, Kashvi, the three at the bottom there who can score at that quick pace. It really looks like such a well settled and balanced batting unit. The day all of them can come off, and when days like they've lost quick wickets down, there are people at the back end who can not just score but also score at a quick pace that you need at that phase of the game in this format. So a lot of positives in that sense to take away as far as the batting is concerned for Gujarat, even though they unfortunately lost the game.
Yeah, because at one point, it felt like them getting to even say a 140, 150 was looking incredibly difficult. But Beth Mooney, doing Beth Mooney stuff, ensuring that the team didn't really face the brunt. And even Kashmi Gautam, I'm so glad, Rishabh, you brought in that point because I think her cameo, right, again, a 10 ball, 18, really proved to be quite the game changing one. All goes well for India going ahead too, right? For the longest time, we've just wanted a pinch hitter down in that batting order. If Kashmi does end up making it to the team, I think it's just such a valuable addition. But just casting our attention to the bowling side of things, again here, right? Chanel Henry topping the charts with 3 wickets, albeit a little expensive. You'd still take it, right? Any day of the week. She complements Marizan Cup so beautifully up top with the new ball, being able to take 3 crucial wickets. And you had, Nandini Sharma with 2. We've spoken about her. Minu Mani as well, right? Another miserly spell, just goes criminally under the radar, but does her thing so beautifully. Just take us through your, thoughts about like Delhi and their bowling effort.
As you rightly mentioned, Chanel Henry over the past few games, she's really turned up with the ball and she's picked big wickets. If you're picking two, three crucial wickets, even if you go for 30, 40 odd runs, you take that any day in this format. Now look at the wickets she got. She got Sophie Divine. She got Georgia Wareham, who could have probably given them 10, 15 more runs. She hadn't gotten out at that stage. She got Bharti Fulmali for naught as well. We know how hard and how far she can hit the ball if she'd been there. So, really, crucial wickets that she's taken. You have Nandini doing her stuff at the top, but then you also need, as a bowling unit, to carry that momentum throughout and keep the pressure throughout. And that's what I think Chanel Henry really did with Minu Mani as well. I think probably just 1 wicket for that wickets column, but 23 runs in 4 overs. Her economy is under 6. So she also did really well to keep things tight. And I'd also like to credit Jemmy there for her captaincy. Actually, right away she brought Minu Mani in, she brought the spinner in, and she ensured that they kept the pressure in those middle phases. So again, the bowling changes and utilizing, knowing the strength of your bowlers and whom to bring on where. I think once again credit to Jemmy as well there for bringing her on at the right time, keeping her in the attack, and then Minu Mani also repaying the faith really tight in the middle phase there. So all in all, in that sense, I feel overall really well-rounded bowling effort from Delhi to keep them down to 168, less than 170. And then their batters, did what they did. But this will also give them confidence because, even in the final RCB, they've got Smriti, you've got Richa, you've got all these power hitters, Georgia Wall, all of these guys, Grace Harris. So if against a side like Gujarat as well, they've performed this way with the ball, that will again give them a lot of confidence going into that final. So a really big game for Delhi in that sense, that even their bowlers, all of them seem to be coming well together as a unit. You'd see Sri Charani still was slightly expensive. Marizan Cap didn't finish with a wicket, but all of that aside, as a unit, I feel they bowled really well. They have people who can pick wickets for them throughout each phase of the game, and that's what really matters, especially in this format against against quality batting sides.
Yeah, I think Delhi would definitely take a lot of confidence from that bowling attack because when you just look at Delhi Capitals and their squad, it's impossible to not rave about that batting and be like, wow, you have Shafali Verma, Lizelle in the same team, but it's their bowling too, right? That has been stepping up at the right time. I know there have been moments where the bowlers have gone for a few runs, but that's the case and the nature of T20. That happens with any team. And even Jemimah Rodrigues, the captain, Rishabh, like I think as soon as the innings got over itself, right, Gujarat, you could see there was a whole team huddle, her, sort of explaining. Unfortunately for us, the broadcast just cut to an ad, but you could see, right, that proactive intent that she did have because again, for her coming in as the captain, it was always going to be baptism by fire because you're taking over the reins from someone like Meg Lanning. The pressure was always going to be on, and anything less than a finals finish is like just not acceptable for Delhi fans or for the onlookers. So credit on her to sort of ensure that happened. But again, just coming to Delhi's batting itself again. The task was cut out, 169 to chase from 20 overs. Delhi has had a lot of situations versus Gujarat this season itself where the match has gone to the wire and very funny things have happened. But this time around, that was not the case, right? In the power play itself, 75 for no loss, Shafali Verma and Lizelle just blasting there. How decisive do you think that phase was in, sort of effectively just ending the contest early and making the rest of it just mere formalities?
Yeah, they killed the game in the power play. Any chance you had of defending 160, 170 was if you had picked 2, 3 wickets in that power play. But 75 for no loss, 6 overs, it was done. The writing was on the wall. The game was done and dusted right in those first 6 overs. And it also shows, like you mentioned, they've had times this season as well in the past, where they've messed up at the top, but that shows that they've worked and rectified their mistakes as a unit, and especially that coming right before the final in such a big game. Again, massive confidence there. The intent was very clear. They didn't want to take this down the wire and pressurize themselves, or uh, you know uh, make make a chase more difficult than it seems to be for themselves. Something they've done better from the previous game. So intent pretty clear there from their openers, the way they took the attack right from the word get go. Very very clear, very positive. So I think the game that was the only realistic chance Gujarat had if they had to have any chance to defend this total or take the game close. Wickets in the power play. Delhi made sure that did not happen, and not just they made sure that they didn't give away wickets, but the pace at which they scored, like I said, they killed the game in the first six. It was pretty much done and dusted right there.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been one of those pleasing things for Delhi Capitals. Agree with Syed here that opener Lizelle batted superbly for DC throughout the tournament. She and Shafali Verma both are batting excellently for DC. This opening pair performing well for DC, I think augurs well for them. But Rishabh, here let's actually microscopically look at Lizelle, right? I think a lot of people had apprehensions about Lizelle, her appearance, fitness. Will she fit in the scheme of things? While they completely forgot to take into consideration that this is the same batter who's been doing incredibly well for Hobart Hurricanes and has been doing well domestically too, right, for Australia. This match again, 24 balls, scoring those 43 runs. It's undeniable, right, that she set the tone. Again, for you, like, what stood out about her approach and how Gujarat batters were just not able to exploit or just see if they could counter her weaknesses.
Definitely, like I mentioned, Lizzie, she kept the tempo high right from the start. If you look in the power play itself, she really took on the bowling. I feel she and Shafali, both of them, first they went after Renuka. I think 5 boundaries they got in 1 over. Then Lizzie also went after Rajeshwari. She smashed her, I think, for a 4 and a 6 in 1 over. So they knew the target was pretty clear that who they're going to go after, and I also feel the bowling didn't help Gujarat's cause. That's another story, because they bowled too much in the slot, I feel, and their lines and lengths weren't as great as it should have been. But yeah, the intent was pretty clear right from the start from Lizelle, and it's about backing her strengths, right? She knows she has the ability, to take the attack right from the start. She has that power. She can play those big shots. So then you back yourself to do that. There will be days where it doesn't come off, but that doesn't take anything away from the kind of quality she has. And the day she and Jemmy come together, we saw what happened last night, and that is obviously scary for any opposition in this format. So it really set the tone, and they stuck to that. It's not like you got a couple of good overs, so we just get just slow down a little, or they kept the momentum going throughout. So that's also important when you get that kind of a start, right? That you don't get complacent, and you build on the momentum, and you just really look to kill the game. And that's what they did. So that approach, that thinking, I think was really important for from DC's perspective, to get that kind of start that they got in the first six.
Yeah, and as much as we are talking about Delhi and the start that they got, I think a lot can be also spoken about Gujarat and how their bowling plans were just all over the place. I think here's where Tushar's comment becomes all the more pertinent, that Renuka Singh was so poor in the power play. In her second over, she bowled all the balls in the slot, and we saw what was the subsequent result. And a few changes by Gardner in the bowling also didn't really help. Which brings me to this question, Rishabh, about that unknown nobody goes on to ask, how do you rate the captaincy of Jemmy and Ashley? I think we've spoken about Jemimah Rodrigues, the captain, in our previous lives as well. Initially in this conversation too, right? A very proactive brand of captaincy, and the way she sort of gives those pep talks and is like always there in the ear of the bowler or the batter, and how a lot of her bowling changes last night did end up working out well. But let's talk about Ash Gardner, Rishabh. Just her captaincy itself. I was talking earlier about how it was like she just cut a very sorry figure in the uh, dugout, and sometimes looks very clueless. She's sometimes even clueless about how to use herself as a bowler, and that doesn't send out a good signal. Takes me back to the aspect of how even probably Australia didn't consider her as the captain. I mean, she is chosen as the vice captain, but didn't really look at her for the bigger post of captain, which I think did send a little bit of a shockwave, right? Because Sophie Molyneux pipping her means that probably Australia is not looking at Ash Gardner as that main captaincy option. Again, just drawing our inferences from the WPL itself and a little bit from the WBPL, like what have you made of Ash Gardner's captaincy?
So you already spoke about one of the points that I wanted to highlight is, why is she not trusting herself enough as a bowler, and she's not coming on earlier, neither is she bowling as much as she should be. And that's also probably reflecting in the captaincy overall. The bowling changes she made, did not really help, especially when the kind of start Delhi have gotten. And you know to hold some of your wicket taking bowlers back and bring them in, and yourself in so late, when you've got only so much to defend and the game's already gone far off your reach, 75 out for no loss. There's no point of holding players back. So I think could have been a lot more better in that way. And coming to even earlier point about Renuka, we have seen this with her throughout. I feel also one of the reasons why probably she was released by RCB, because she tends more often than not to be really wavered with those lines and lengths, and when she doesn't get it right, uh, just looks like a very average bowler, so to say, who she looks really clueless. And it doesn't really look good for an international bowler, really. And it's not like it's just happened this season, or it's happening in a few games. It's been happening for a while now. So she's really got to work on that on an individual level, to get sort her lines and lengths, because you cannot be bowling this poorly in this format. You can't either be bowling completely down the leg, or you can't be bowling in the slot. You've got to bring in consistency, because the level of competition, and the skills of the batters have really gone up. So there's nowhere for you to hide, and there's just this margin of error, really. So I fear she could even lose her spot in the national team if she doesn't perform well, or better what hasn't gone right for her this season, and if she doesn't bring in that consistency. So overall, I feel the bowling just didn't work, honestly, for Gujarat. And then the way Lizelle and Shafali started, I think it was too much pressure right on them at the top, knowing that they have only so much to defend. So then you tend to try to do a lot of things, or it just turns out to be that kind of a day where nothing goes right for you, or nothing really works for you, and that was the case last night with Gujarat.
Yeah, all valid points there, Rishabh. And hopefully, this is an aspect that Gujarat keeps in mind going ahead too. Because so far in the season, we really thought Michael Klinger, Ashley Gardner have been doing well together. But then under pressure, they really sometimes struggle. And I think last night's match was an indicator of that. Utsav also goes on to add that the only thing that is scaring me is that DC have finally won their first knockout in WPL. The jinx is now broken and the Indian core is doing well. Nandini, Charni are both on fire. I think as RCB fans, people will read into this a little more than others would naturally. But I still feel we are setting up for a really interesting match. RCB on their day can do really well. I think there were some concerns from fans that the team is holidaying in Goa. What is happening and all of that? You need the team as refreshed as possible, and they've done enough, man, this season to sort of merit a place in the final and take that break. But fair point there about DC, finally winning a knockouts match. But will it have a spillover effect on the finals? Only time will tell. And coming back to this match and the discussion itself, talking about Lizelle Lee's partner in crime is Shafali Verma, right? I think she too matched the tempo with like a 21 ball, 31. The season hasn't been, that sort of a benchmark sort of a season for Shefali as much as we would expect, but she's done well in patches, which is still great, right? So Rishabh, again, if you had to talk about how the opening pair sort of complements each other really well, like how would you sort of look at it?
Yeah, it has been. Shifali hasn't been at her absolute best, really, this season in terms of the consistency of scoring those big runs. But then on the day when it mattered, when it was required, she delivered last night. So that's what matters, and that's a good thing if one of your key players isn't as consistent, but you're still in the final. So that shows your strength, first of all, as a team. But secondly, it was crucial for her also to match that tempo. Lizelle, we saw she was going after the bowlers right from the start, but then you double down on the kind of a start and that pressure on the opposition when the flow of runs comes from both sides. So it's also important that your other partner, if it is someone like Shafali who does have that ability, to go big in the power play, she has a naturally attacking game herself. Then why not? So it was crucial for her also to match the tempo and match the intent as well, and keep going on the other end along with Lizelle. She also got 7 boundaries. 150 odd strike rate, and in these kind of chases you really don't have to get a big 50, 60, 70, or 80. If you are getting a 20 ball 30 at the top and you're complimenting your partner who's gotten that kind of runs, and you're giving your team 75 for no loss in the power play, your job is done. You don't have to get 50, 60, 70. It's not about the runs, but the impact, really, in this format, and especially when you're chasing these kind of you know totals, 160, 170 tricky totals, you always need a good start. So it's about the impact. So keeping that aspect in mind, I think a very crucial knock from Shafali, although you would have wanted her to continue and probably get to that milestone and all of that aside, but purely in terms of impact, she did her job, what she had to as an opener at the top. So she'll be happy, and I think the whole team will be happy with that knock in terms of how it came out.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I think Shafali Verma herself is like a big match player, right? So she's probably saving the best for the final itself. But Rishabh, here's where I want to bring in the point of Georgia Wareham, right? Again, she's had a very like up and down sort of season, but it's coming good again, right? She picked two massive wickets, and that was of Shafali Verma and Lizelle Lee. Somewhere did you think that those breakthroughs just came a little too late to sort of shift the momentum? Like it did cause a brief panic in the change room for Delhi, but more or less, you would still trust the likes of Jemimah Rodrigues and Laura Wolfart, whom we'll talk about a little later. But Georgia Wareham and how she's been going about, just impressed, like carrying on her WPBL form there.
Yeah, so she is a natural wicket taker. She is someone who has that ability to pick wickets, and it takes me back to the captaincy point. Like Why did you have to hold someone like her back a little too late when you know the openers are going after your bowling and you don't have a big total on the board? Then doesn't make sense to. Maybe they would have still lost, but I think she should have been bought into the attack slightly earlier because she did pick two big wickets. She got both those openers there. So if probably they had more wickets in the power play, then the game at least would have gone closer, I feel. So that is something where Ash Gardner has to reflect as captain and utilizing your players, especially in these kind of situations under pressure. But Wareham doing what she does, she always picks wickets, and more or less she's also, economical. I think close to 4 overs she bowled and less than 30 runs, 2 wickets. You'll take that in this format any day. So she did well, but not enough support from the others, and she also wasn't bought in at the right time, I feel. But she still did what she could. There's only so much she could have done. So overall, I think even captaincy wise and other bowlers supporting in terms of wickets just wasn't the day for Gujarat.
Yeah, just one of those very forgettable days and something they did not want to look back. Because just adding to their woes was Jemimah Rodrigues too, right? Played a match-winning knocks, 23 balls, 41 runs. Now again, her intent was a big talking point, right? Ensured Gujarat could never really claw their way back into the game. How would you contextualize that now, Krisha, in the context of this game and how crucial it was?
So she's done it twice now. Even in the last game, we saw when things got slightly tricky for Delhi. She batted with that intent, a quick fire knock. She got them through, and she carried that the same. She continued from where she left the previous game. She carried that momentum this game as well. 41 of 23. She matched that strike rate, and it's important when you've gotten that kind of a start again to keep the momentum going. Because when you've lost those 2 wickets, then you don't want to give the opposition even a slightest chance to get back, or you don't want to create the panic within your dugout. When you're chasing 170 odd can get tricky, so it's important for you to keep that intent and keep that momentum, and you make sure that you get the job done, and there's no panic or whatever. So that's what she did really well. So it's also about understanding the situation, right, and what role you have to play there. She could have, there were still not many runs left. She could have probably gotten in, taken her time and all of that, but in doing that, had they lost another wicket or two over there, could have gotten tricky or slightly, could have been different. So was crucial for her to understand that role and keep up that momentum, which she did as a skipper and on a personal level as well. I think going into the final, two brilliant knocks back to back, that's going to give her a lot of confidence, and that will also reflect in her captaincy eventually because it goes hand in hand. So double plus for Delhi, I'd say, and worrying signs if you're not a Delhi fan.
Yeah, Rishabh not letting his RCB sentiment come out there very explicitly and doing his best to sort of hide it. But again, I think what's really worked for Delhi, right, besides their opening pair that we've again been talking about so much, is even Laura Wolfart, right? Again, the Jemimah Rodrigues and Laura Wolfart partnership itself. Just 34 balls, they brought in their 50. Laura Wolfart remained unbeaten on 32, looked extremely calm, at the other end. Again, just talk to us about that partnership and Laura Wolfart Rishabh in that batting order. For a lot of fans, there was the concern that she's batting out of position at number three, but she's taken to it so comfortably and just great signs, right, for Delhi once again, a positive.
Yeah, it was really a big positive because Laura also, she also got going immediately. She also batted with a decent strike rate, and some of the shots she played, through the cover, she was really fluent. So, like you mentioned, even though she's not batting at her natural order, so that's where the quality of a batter is tested, right? That even if you have to play out of position, if you're given a certain role, how do you adapt? How well do you adapt to that? And she's done that. She showed it in the last game as well. She was very fluent in her stroke play. She also kept up with the momentum because, like we've been talking, when you've gotten that kind of a start, it's really important for you to keep it going. And she and Jemmy together ensured there were no more hiccups, really. Like I said, they didn't allow Gujarat any opportunity to get back, even after those two wickets. Both the openers were dismissed. So again, really comes down to senior and experienced players in that top 4 5 understanding the roles, understanding the game, and what they have to do in that kind of situation. So when you have those kind of players, it reflects, and it showed in the result last night. So you know how you've got to approach every situation, and she did the same. She kept the momentum going along with Jemmy there in the middle. So very, when you have your top four batting the way they did, all of them among the runs, and all of them fluent and scoring at good pace ahead of the final, that is a big boost when you have your top four. So for RCB in the final, if they do not get those top four batters out of the way quickly, it's going to be big trouble, because all of them are in brilliant form. And it's not just form, but the way they are really batting and understanding their roles, and complementing each other, all of them. Huge plus for Delhi.
Yeah, I think they would be really happy, not just their bowling, but even the batting side of things really doing the job. Because in what, 15.4 overs, they were done and dusted with the match. There was not even a point of, run rate and everything. It was just about getting the win, and they did so, in such a comfortable fashion. And one last bit, Rishabh, before we take a few comments from our live chat, has to be like Gujarat's bowling itself. We did talk about Renuka Singh Thakur, how wavered with her line length she was. Sophie Devine, going wicketless. Rajeshwari Gaikwad emerging as a positive with that one wicket. Georgia Wareham too, right? Taking the two big wickets of the openers. But overall, just that bowling card doesn't give you like a lot of interesting things or like just positives to talk about.
Yeah, because when you're defending 170 odd, and you know the kind of quality of batters that Delhi have, uh, the best chance for you was to pick wickets in the power play, really, which they could not. And more than not able to, not being able to pick wickets, they also weren't able to contain the batters, or at least create some pressure in that power play. So then probably you can try and catch up once the field is more open and you have the advantage and all of that. But neither of those things happened. Neither did they pick wickets, nor were they able to control the flow of runs in the power play. So when you aren't able to do either of those things, you can see what happened. So not really a lot to talk about from their bowling card, apart from where am I feel. And probably Ash Gardner, like we spoke, could have bowled herself more. I don't know why she's not trusting herself enough. Probably because of the matchups as a bowler. But then you've got to have faith in yourself, because a lot of times it has been proven that it's really not entirely about matchups. Honestly, it's also backing your skills, and being able to read what the other players doing, and then you back yourself, to do well despite matchups and all of that. So I think she really got caught in that whole matchup cutting, and she's not bowled herself as much as she probably should have. Divine has been generally great for them with the ball this season, really, but her also not being amongst the wickets didn't help their cause. Rajeshwari, yeah, she did pick a wicket, but then she was expensive. So was Kashvi. I think all of them bearing Wareham slightly on the expensive side, so that didn't help the cause in any way.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And unknown nobody also going on to just add that, Gigi was just trying too hard to get wickets. They should have just bowled tight lines. They took the pressure upon themselves, which happens, I think, to teams. Because at one point, we just felt like, Gigi was speaking at the right time, coming into this tournament. They were like overwhelming favorites, at least for me, entering this eliminator. And the kind of performance they put in, it was like they were given a proper humbling lesson by Delhi Capitals in that regard. But here's another like question that I did want to take up, Rishabh. It's again a hypothetical one. I know nobody goes on to ask us your uncapped playing 11 for this WPL. Now, like we would have wanted a lot of uncapped players to get that opportunity, but that wasn't the case. So even if we went about constructing this, Rishabh, like at least for me, off the top of my head, I'm going to take a few names. You can just add on to the list and tell me, if it sort of makes sense. I'd probably have someone like a Diya Yadav and Jeet Risha open. I think they would really do well. Have someone like a Gautami Nayak coming in at three. You have Poonam Khemnar as well. Uh, Probably someone like a Pratyusha Kumar coming in after that. Shipra Giri as well, another wicket keeper. I know I'm just bulking it up with a lot of wicket keepers, but these are batters you would sort of need. Mamta Madhwala too, right? I think she's one name not spoken about a lot there. So at least, yeah, Rishabh, this is how my batting is looking like. Do you have any names to add here? Like Rahila Firdaus is the name I'm very tempted to add here.
Oh yeah, there are. So you've got to see who we can fit in where then, and that is a good thing. But a lot of the names I had Gautami in my list, Trisha, like you mentioned, all of them common. Nandini with the we haven't gotten to the bowling, but she, there with leading the pace attack, probably that is a good sign because the way Renuka is going right now, I think we might need a replacement sooner than we think. I mean, no, but yeah, for a long time now, I feel this issue has been there with her in the bowling. You can't brush it off, I feel. So probably Nandini there, good signs. Too early, maybe, but she's done well in domestic cricket as well. I've been following a little. She's done well there. Probably that is one more name for me to this list, but I'll have to top of the mind. I'll have to sit down after the tournament ends and we want to properly build 11.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Because the rest of my playing 11 was going to shape up like this, right? The likes of Happy Kumari, then you have Prema Rawat herself, Millie Illingworth, Lucy Hamilton, sort of rounding up that bowling. So sorry, Unknown Nobody. Like this was, took us a little bit off guard, but I hope we've at least named like 11 names who can definitely make the cut. Nandini Sharma, obviously, has to be right up there. And yeah, I think there was another question. Yeah, we can probably take this one of players who impressed us this season. I think both Rishabh and I can very unanimously agree that Nandini Sharma has to make the list there. I can't believe we didn't take Anushka Sharma's name in the uncapped playing 11. Like, she has been such an impressive player. How did we not take her name, Rishabh? We should like pause the show
Quite a
right
few,
now. Yeah.
quite a few names, Selva. So
Yeah.
that's why I told you we've got to sit down and properly make 11 so we don't miss out. Anushka for sure,
Exactly. Yeah.
Nandini, all of these guys have really impressed. Gautami in the few chances that she's gotten also. Salpa fielding and all. With time it will improve, but she showed grit and she showed that character in that in a tough situation in one game. So yeah, Nikki Prasad and Sally Sadgare are still names that we know even before. So they also definitely, but apart from these Salpa usual suspects, I feel apart from them, Nandini, there was some expectation around her coming into tournament. She's done well, and Prema Rawat, like you mentioned, Anushka, last game also little small cameo or whatever that she played, but she's shown a lot of potential, this season. And if she does get the backing, who knows, she can also go on to just improve from this stage. Lot of no, that's the thing, right? With even the women's team lifting the World Cup this year, it's just not ki ha they came this year and out of nowhere they won and they won the tournament. It's really all the hard work behind, and even the start of the WPL, the 3 seasons before this, I think has to be credited. And it's only been good to see more uncapped players getting more opportunities this season. So it's just an upward graph going really that way, and that way a huge positive in general for Indian women's cricket. The kind of exposure they're getting, the quality has been. I think this has been the best WPL tournament in terms of quality that way. Till the end we didn't know the two teams who could make the other two slots, and even now, even the final now, it's really so interestingly set up. So all in all, that way a huge positive I feel this season, especially if you look at the uncapped Indian players. A lot of them, even kudos to franchises, I'd say, to back these guys and give them a lot more opportunities, because yes, your ultimate goal is winning and all of that, but I mean, if not here, where else are you going to try out these players in this kind of environment and that pressure, rubbing shoulders with international players and all the whole setup basically. So kudos, I think, to managements as well, to give these players due opportunities. and a lot of them have shown immense potential also.
Yeah, Rishabh, again, I find myself just nodding and agreeing with all the points you mentioned there, because the WPL has been, that sort of a platform which has given so many of these teams to actually pick on these uncapped players and just give them that opportunity, right? Now, most teams didn't really give them that much of match time or use them at those right opportunities, but just being a part of, a dressing room like that, rubbing shoulders with, again, some of the most experienced names in the game, again, does a world of good, right? There's a lot of knowledge transfer that happens. This is the point, I've been speaking about a lot. So again, talks a lot about how the scouting and just the overall development of the women's game has been massive. And just to pick on that one point you brought in, Rishabh, of the WPL and the impact it has had on the quality of cricket, not just domestically but internationally too, right? Now, ever since the inception of the WPL in 2023, India has gone on to win a World Cup, right, in 2025. Compare that with, say, the IPL when it did start in 2008. The men's team only went on to win like a T20 title much later, right, in 2024. Again, the comparison is not like for like, because it would be like, it would then mean, will the Indian team win the Indian women's team win the T20 World Cup, a few months later down this year. But again, you get the comparison, right? The IPL has had that sort of an impact on the game, and you can see the impact that it will continue to go on and give. But again, just pivoting our conversation to one last bit, Rishabh, just again, formalities. Now, looking ahead to the final, I know the RCB fan sentiment in us is, just hopefully it doesn't overtake, supersede what we have in mind, honestly. But again, Delhi has shown, right, this is a team that could potentially go all the way, right? The law of averages at some point has to favor them. You can't make it to the final four times and then lose it all four times. But this is against a team like RCB that booked their place in the final courtesy such a good performance. So, Rishabh, your last and final thoughts, and if you just had to quickly give a preview of the match itself, what you expect, and just really excited and looking forward to what is going to be a fitting finish to this season.
100%. I think it's very tough to pick, even as a fan of one team. If you ask me, I don't think I can say with 100% confidence that we'll be the outright winners, because you have to give it to Delhi credit where due for the way they've, really performed and gotten into the playoffs, and the way they've dominated in that eliminator and the way they've won. Definitely can't write them off. So very hard to pick, I'd say, and that's ideally how you would even want it to be from a neutral perspective. That sets it up really, really well. Again, I think it'll basically come down to who handles pressure well, and who makes fewer mistakes on that day, and who backs themselves, and who gets the basics right on that day. It's really about that. But I think if from RCB's point of view, if you're looking at that top four, if you don't get that top four out quickly, then that's going to be a little trouble. And in case RCB are say batting first, then it's going to be interesting to see if they can really put up a big total or not, because they won a few games chasing, but in the final, if you're batting first, you need runs on the board, and Delhi have been really doing well with the ball. So that's going to be that would be an interesting matchup if they're batting first. How quickly can they score? And Delhi also, stacked up with a lot of right-handers. If you look at their batting, so then it'll also be interesting to see how the likes of Lauren Bell and they go about in that power play, against complete right-hand dominated batting of Delhi there. So quite a few matchups that way, if you see, but very uh, hard to pick. I'd say it's going to be a fitting final. It is difficult for me to pick an outright winner, honestly, because that's how it has been. Even before this auction, after the auction, not a lot of people gave RCB also a chance. Like, hey, what is this team? And a lot of talk, but with whatever they've had, uh, they've done well. And it's not just been one or two guys. Every match they've had different match winners, so that way also they've been really solid. Delhi coming good, they're peaking, gained momentum at the right time. So it's going to be even Stevens, I feel, cracker of a contest, to say the least. And it's going to be fun, and nervy fun I'd say.
Rishabh absolutely playing it safe there, not letting the RCB fan sentiment in him getting better and, giving us a name of who could eventually go on to win the WPL. Because I think we've seen enough of, jinxes and all of that happening. But all in all, I think we can probably agree that it is going to be quite the exhilarating final. And hopefully the best team wins. Although our heart says RCB, like we hope it's not a one-sided
Yeah,
final or a very boring one in that nature, right?
there's also been a pattern, that the team who's finished at the top of the table hasn't won the final. I was just looking that up, and teams coming from winning the eliminator have gone on to win. RCB also, that's how they won 24. So, I mean, yeah, all of these are just past records, honestly. On that day, who plays how matters, but then all of these things are playing on your mind, and all of these things are being discussed. So, like I mentioned, a lot of, lots going around, and it's really, in that sense, it's really set up to be a really interesting final. So that's why I said slightly difficult looking at all of this to pick one winner, even though, even despite being a hardcore fan of one team, I'm finding it slightly difficult to pick one winner, because that's how Delhi have played, and I really, from Delhi's perspective, I don't know how can some team be fourth time unlucky. You'd expect them to be fourth time lucky, so all of that playing in mind right now. So tough to pick one winner, but yeah, excited and nervous at the same time. So that's good also. That's how the setup for a final should be ideally.
Yeah, I think Rishabh obviously giving us the reality check there, ensuring that we don't get too ahead of ourselves as we look up to what is already promising to be the riveting clash. But yeah, folks, that again does conclude our discussion. For the finals, we have something incredibly special planned, which, we will let you know about very, very soon. And we want you to be a part of it as well. So please, guys, stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter for more. And again, Rishabh, thank you so much, for joining me on this discussion. I know it's not a morning show. It's a little bit, eating into your workday and stuff. But as always, you turned up for the channel and we had such a fun chat. To all the folks who joined us in the live chat as well, thank you so much. We will need your support, as the cricketing season also gets incredibly busy. But yeah, folks, until next time, stay safe, take care, and keep supporting Never in the Back Foot. Cheers. Bye for now.